Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's episode. The title is The First Potential Portal Experience in History for Genetical Memory. Now, this was a very interesting concept that dawned upon me recently, but I was seeing this idea that if we take into, take into consideration this evolutionary process by, biological evolution, we consider that there was a point that we were perhaps sea creatures and we stepped out of the sea. We stepped out of the water. Now, it's kind of strange when you look at the human body and you look at a lot of different phenomenology on this planet. It feels like we are a combination. It's as if the inspiration for the human design comes from also fragment inspirations in the world. What I'm trying to say is that imagine back in the day there was this evolutionary creature in water and it stepped out of the water. I feel that is equivalent to stepping into a portal. Imagine being a creature that has not stepped outside of water, that has not breathed in that way. So Mr.Within can totally see for how the primitive creature, the sea creature, the water-based creature, when we stepped onto land, it was a new reality, and anyone who's gone to swimming can definitely knows there's a different texture of experience. You have the same body, but when you go underneath the water, different sensation of experience, different condition of reality, and the same body outside of the water has a totally different experience. Many human beings have tried to solve this puzzle of human existence. What ends up happening is that either man gets grounds himself in an image, in a limited knowledge. That means we accept our limitations to be the edge of our who we are. Or we acknowledge it as the beginning. There's something to nature that I definitely feel like just through my own experiences and what I even consider my inner realms and the distinction between the two and the outer realm. After some point, it doesn't matter what you are, how movement is occurring in the moment is directing it. You know what that means? That means that person, in a tsunami, the nature, the world is telling them to run, not people. You see, we respond to nature, we respond to existential phenomena, and behind our eyes, it's not a similar existence, but it is a subtler uh, and way more temporary. That means thoughts come and go, like throughout the day, way more thoughts come and go. After some point, you will notice them. If you're still and silent, you'll notice when thoughts arise. And if you're super still and silent, you'll see an image to your thoughts. You can see them. You can see the nature of your own subjective existence and how it has been kept. For me, there is a geometrical extension to everything in reality. Geometry, for me personally, may be not for everyone, but for me personally, my inner realms, there's a huge geometrical component to it. The thing about geometry is that it is a level of pure design. There's something very divine and majestic about geometry and about design. You see, we are designed creatures, but with storylines. Now, the storylines extend from the capacity and the circumstances of evolution. You know, a question future philosophers will ask. Many future philosophers, I feel, the next 100 years will ask: how much information does the human being really need? Because the information that the human being gets changes them. Every book I've read has changed me. I feel the shift from, psychologically speaking, even though it's very hard to argue if consciousness was retained through that shift. But I feel the same mystery of the creatures stepping out of the sea onto land. It's like the same sort of uniqueness and mystery and ambience and unknownness are evolution beyond subjectivity has. So, in this episode, I just pretty much wanted to paint this picture that it was a very profound transition, and actually, a lot can be said if the creature had some sort of consciousness before it transitioned from sea to land. Now, even if it's regardless of even if it's a cellular level, whatever, something transitioned from one state to another, and that is its memory. That means I feel we are not just born uh, randomly. Let me say it differently. We're not born out of nowhere. We are born in what the whole manifestation existentially is thinking. Sometimes playfully, especially being a young kid, raised in Iran, and then at a young age I came to Canada and been back and forth and lived in Canada most of my life. So I can tell you that the concept of religion and the concept of an intelligence to the universe that is watching, how would I say? For some reason, the invisible has been pushed out of the jurisdiction of the visible, yet the visible has nowhere else to go. Every product you see, every item, consumerist item the listener, you have right now, it was once a figment of someone's imagination. Um, so Jesse, I welcome to the chat. I was reading your comments. You see, I acknowledge the potential for any story. Right now, I could feel Krishna is in the leaf of that tree I'm staring at. Do you know? The abstract has a lot of room to stretch reality. And it's not an issue. There's many stories. I've heard stories of this world being a sort of imprisonment for the creature. Uh, Various stories you hear. But the point is, there is experience occurring. And what does that mean? That means any truth the person finds will be still an experience of the moment. So if the person studies their attention and surpasses a relationship with language, Jesse, I would suggest then your experience is bringing the image, not you. A lot of people feel they have to go in the unknown and do a strange dance. What I mean by that is they feel they got to do something in a reality that is defined by how it's being. You see, if you see this difference in between people who are more emotionally sensitive and people who are less emotionally sensitive. Me personally, there's certain moments of my life where I have not been emotionally sensitive. I have ran past others, and there is, of course, regret in any war. There's no way a human being can be in some sort of confrontation with the forces of nature and feel everything's going to be the same. You see, uh, there has to be something very carefully analyzed in human psychology that if the person feels they can't be their future, they maybe are trying to be their past. You know, for me, I one day made a decision. I think it was a sort of intuitive decision that I stopped fearing the new. And I can't tell you there's no more powerful force. You can call it whatever you want. It's the force of the new. It is recognizing that it's the attention's choice. The way I perceive evolution occurring, of course, deviates from the traditional mainstream. I consider there was an unconscious world, an unconscious self, the objective evolution, the conscious self, the subjective evolution, and then the conscious world, which is the ultimatum of the subjective evolution. Now, when I was thinking about this idea of the first portal experience, I was wondering that if when a person saw a portal, let's say we just nobody's on this planet, let's say has ever been born and stepped into a portal and been back, let's say there is a portal and we find a portal. Let's just say we found some ancient portal appeared out of nowhere. It's like, oh, what is that behind that tree? Oh my God, it's an ancient portal. So imagine you found an ancient portal. Now, the idea is what when you see as a psychological creature, as a creature with a sort of mind organized in accordance to how reality has been perceived to be real. What ideas are there when you first see the portal? And it was based on that sort of kind of consideration that I really wondered about could it be from an earlier phase. There's various ways. Ideas are like shapes. The more you look at them, you see what else they're connected to. There's this quote ascribed to Da Vinci. He says, to develop a complete mind, study the science of art, study the art of science, learn to see. Learn to see. That's an important skill. Not a lot of people see what's going on. A lot of people even see it and they quickly move past it, assuming they haven't seen it. To be able to see an event properly, that is courage. That is life. Really, that's when you're living. For me, if everything is pre-planned and known from the beginning, what fun is there? You have pushed the unknown out of your mind. So where do you think your knowledge can go? It can go nowhere. The unknown is a magnificent feeling. And that was the thing. I was looking at civilization, and guys, there's something that um, I've studied four types of ways that I feel the subjective realm's meaning moves upon the objective realm. And I've simplified it to these four symbols: zero, one, two, infinity. That means the number zero, the number one, the number two, and the infinity symbol. I have, in these four dimensions, I call them the ring of the absent heaven. In these four dimensions, I have explained the relationship of observer and object of observance and subject of observance. And what does that mean? That means in every moment you can acknowledge space. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, I see the zero dimension in reality. I see the space. I see how I could not exist right now, but I was born, you know? I could see absence. That's what I'm trying to get to. I could see how in 100 years I won't exist. I could see in 1,000 years I won't exist, but I wonder, that's the joy of living, where I don't know how far my voice goes. If my voice lives longer than my life, then it's deserved it. You know? But I don't know. Nature has its own plans. At the end of the day, whatever the actor does on stage, it bows at the audience and gets out of there. So, guys, about the Discord event, at the end of this talk, I will get to it. Something I recommend for people who usually listen. You see, when I give these talks, strangely, various imagery comes to my mind, but one feeling it has this feeling when I give these talks where it's this march into the unknown. And I know I was explaining the four dimensions to you, but let me just say this march into the unknown. So if I'm talking and saying something and somebody in an unknown way feels they want to share, they're welcome, you know, to share in the comment, chat section. So after, right now in this moment, there's space. And after you notice space, I notice my physical body. I notice this chair in front of me, this computer, the tree outside, you know. I notice the sky. So I'm noticing in a singular way phenomena. So take this in, that we acknowledged the zero dimension. Then we acknowledge the singular dimension, how stuff can be on their own. After you confront space and matter in a singular form in the space, you have the first technically unofficial duality, which is the difference between nothing and everything. Many philosophers wonder about this, but not many philosophers can go through with it. It's so anyways, it's how there could be everything and nothing, this sort of relationship of mind and matter again, or matter and the space of awareness. So after you confront that, you handle that, you go, where do you go? – You go to duality. That means the singular, you realize how it has a shadow. And when you acknowledge the shadow, that's mastery over the dualistic dimension. After you have mastered, confronted your shadow, poetically, even as Carl Jung says, you come to the real self. You come to the infinite, something where our species is still a child in acknowledging that idea. Infinity can mean many things. If it's linear, it means immortality. Time moves forward for us. There can be an infinite movement where something is infinitely expanding, or there could be a simple arithmetic. Like I remember in MoMA, Museum of Modern Art in New York, I had an opportunity to go there, and they had this computer where somebody had just put an object on a key, and there was the letter, I don't know, some letter on a Word document endlessly till the end of time just being pressed, you know? That was like modern art. And so that's a sort of infinity where it's just a copy. That means imagine you infinitely, imagine you are Buddhist right now and you're at this view, you're this endlessly, eternally, infinitely kind of moving, transmigrating soul towards clarity or whatever. You see, like, I'm saying in that sense, that would be a totally different infinity compared to someone cloning themselves infinite times. You see, one is on a quantity level, one is on the quality of the experience level. Once you confront these components to the moment, then your inner realms, you can identify the pattern. And the hardest thing to identify out of these dimensions, but once you do, makes life incredibly easy, is the zero dimension. When you don't fear space, for me it's strange, even though I think about my own non existence in the future, and I see that yes, the breath may fly off one day. The air in the balloon is going to burst. I'm joking, but what I mean is it's an opportunity. They say an opportunity of a lifetime. The lifetime is an opportunity. The lifetime is an opportunity of a lifetime. I feel this world is more unknown. Literally, the simple reasoning that I have is this: unknown greater than sign than the known. And when you understand this, when you truly understand this, you'll notice why when I give these talks, I've slightly shifted towards caring to look at the wilderness of the world. There is a wilderness to the world. There is many things that when you look at history, you could have seen it happen differently. But it just happened that way. We could have totally had a history where there was no sexism, there was no racism, there was no war, do you know? And we probably would have been way more populated and society would have been way more advanced. I don't know if people know this, but World War II led to 75 million people dying. And I was like, what the? Like it was mind-boggling to me. Out of 75 million people, how many were artists? How many were geniuses? How many were inventors? How many were writers? How many were painters? You know, you see, that's the thing. When human beings stop caring for humanity, for human beings, humanity suffers. When you're cruel to another human being, you're being rude to your species. I'm not joking. I there was a day where I was like, wait a minute. If we were all 8 billion human beings, we're all being one collective being. Let's say we were all just one mind right now. As I'm speaking, let's say if we were, how could we tell? And I notice individuality breaks down. That means it surpasses duality. That means the dualistic way of looking at things has many flaws, but also endless advantages for building. That means I would say entertain the dualistic dimension when you want to build or create something. But traveling, I don't travel as a dualistic entity. What that means is the relationship I have with my mind is very strange. It's like as if like I've noticed that the body has turned on the candle of the wax was necessary for the candle flame, but now the candle flame is a totally different property of its own. There can be this view that a soul is born eternally. As if once you're a memory in existence, you're a memory. It's like you might forget yourself, but the world doesn't. You know? Why do you think people have karma? Guys, I'm going to tell you this incredibly silly joke, which at the same time you can extract an enlightening moral from it. There's this guy, he goes to this, like, there are these two friends, okay? Let's not say friends even. This guy, they're in the market, he goes and asks, like, the other shop owner, and he's like, hey man, what would you do if you were in the middle of an ocean and there was a shark? And then the guy suddenly gets very intense, and you're saying if I was in the middle of an ocean, what I would do, and there was a shark? And the guy's like, yeah, yeah, what would you do? And you know what the guy says? The guy says, I'm gonna climb a tree. And this guy is the guy who asked the question, his face looks like, you serious, man? You're gonna climb a tree? You're in the middle of an ocean. How are you gonna climb a tree? The guy turns around in a hysteria and says, you don't get it. I have no choice other than to climb this tree. Climb the tree. And that was like, even though it's a stupid joke, okay? It's like a silly joke, but there was a moral. There was a moral in it. There was a moral in it. The moral was, even though the vision wasn't real, that person was entertaining it as real. That means right now, if imagine like if person A and person B are in the park. Okay, person A is talking to person B is talking to person A. Suddenly, person A says to person B, I see dead people. Okay. Let's say person A, in a very sophisticated way, says that I'm seeing uh, an aura. Okay, that's more gentle for people to acknowledge. Pretty much, I'm saying person A sees something that person B doesn't see. Now, person B sees something that thinks is similar, let's say, to person A, but person B also is seeing something different. So what I'm saying is like It's kind of strange, even though right now I feel like, in regards to an auditory sense, in regards to listening, it's very easy for many people to listen. But in regards to speech, it have you noticed that it takes a sort of construction work, you know? It requires an effort. I mean, even this idea of evolution, it has brought us to a strange place where we are now even talking about it. That means the fact that we evolved into a subject into ourselves is really weird. To ourselves is really weird. I don't know why scientists are really quiet nowadays, you know? I feel that the best way society can be designed in the future is like a brain. Just like different parts of the brain have different tasks, it's as if different human beings are neurons of this human mind. And so I feel we do need philosophers to start wondering about this hive mind complex where in the future we might go. Right now, we are creatures where our individualism is way more physically real, right? Right now, it's like, I mean, who was it? Alan Watts. He's like, if you're in like in the West, like if you if you say, "Oh my God, I realize I'm this enlightened energy of God" or something, if you say you've realized you're God, everybody is God, people are gonna be like, "Buddy, relax. We got to go to work. Relax." But in the East, if you say you've realized everybody is God, then they Alan Watts was saying they laugh at you and they say I don't remember what his wording was, but it was like finally the guy realized. That means in India you're metaphysically late to class if you feel everything is one. Yeah, in Western society, you're not even in the classroom. Because, guys, I'll tell you, I had this phenomenal experience where I went to India, Rishikesh, for 2 months, and I stayed in an ashram, and there was this yoga course that I participated in. And I was shocked that the yogi was speaking like a scientist. The guy was dressed in yogic clothing, but it was as if the yogi, many of these yogis were in the mountains. There's a new desire they have to worry about, and that is the desire of the endless processing of information. You see, it's not for like some people get tired of it because every person's nature is like the guitar is tuned to a certain way. You know. You might not believe it. When I was a kid, I had no interest in the. I mean, I don't want to say no interest, but I want to say I never thought I'd be talking about this stuff like this. I wanted to be a soccer player. Can you imagine? Nature is here. Nature is the here. And now is an experiential phenomenon. That means I actually feel nobody is experiencing time. That it comes to this still present attention, and time is kept. Time is kept. Man might wear a watch, But I'm telling you, the universe doesn't very much. Time is an experiential phenomenon. That means that the wonder of multidimensionality goes between how the moment is divided. That means if in this moment I feel there is an existential, like just like how we have two eyes that see the same, there's an existential dimension and there's an experiential dimension. For me, both these can be multidimensional, and they can be all these four ways I've mentioned in regards to the 0, 1 to infinity symbol. Guys, I'm very proud of this model I've designed for the dimensions. For me, if this was like if I was alive 5,000 years ago, I would probably be trying to recruit pilots for interstellar exploration. You know. But now, in 2020, at least we can, as a species, wonder about how far the depths of the mind goes and how sophisticated the user of the technology is. Because the idea of technology is, like right now, we are the mind of our vehicles, but in the future, our vehicles may have minds. Everything may be intelligent. You might enter your house, and the house, just like how a dog knows that their owner is coming home before and just picks up on the scent or some intuitive vibe or something. The dog is the smell, the smell of the owner or whatever. So the dog is behind the door, waiting. And I feel in the future we're going to have intelligent homes where the home is going to be like this AI best friend, where when you come home, if you're sad, the home is trying to put a very nice lighting. You see, the thing is, we human beings want control, but we don't want to manage the control. To be honest, we're creatures that pretty much want, I think personally, we should design a life where 50% of the day is a sort of collective work, and 50% of the day is individual work. And what I mean by this is right now the civilization is not there yet. But in the future, your civilization will honor you. That means imagine in the future, it's not gas people or religious people coming to your door. It's this person from the member, from let's say the uh, I don't know, from some sort of high council of humanity comes up and says, what task is a member of this household willing to do, for example, for the civilization. You see, the thing is, every person their intelligence can be genius. It's just the conditions you put them. That means Einstein had this thing where he said, if you judge a fish by its ability um, uh, to fly, the fish is going to think it's going to go living its whole life thinking it's stupid. Einstein understood this. You know why? Because he was a weird guy. And weird people understand this. Because there is something that has allowed them to take the path less traveled by. Now, let me tell you, there is no such thing as normality. Because back in the day, it was normal to wear top hats. Now you wear a top hat, people are like, yo, look at this guy. Who does he think he is? He thinks he's Abraham Lincoln? Get out of here, man. So you see, even what we think is normal it's just where our attention is. The greatest thing the individual can do is wonder about how an advanced civilization will happen. If you just wonder, that is, even if in your whole life you do nothing, there has been some sort of energetic expression in that direction. So, guys, I'm getting a strange feeling. Usually, these talks can go longer, but out of curiosity, out of all those people listening, 10 people are listening. Um, how many would like me to go to the Discord event? How many would like me to continue the talk? Yeah, someone's correcting me. Yeah, it could have been a tree. I don't know. But I think the point came across. Yeah, guys, it could have been not based on an ability to fly. It could have been like climb a tree or something. So you think I'm gonna tell you, man? There's some people in this world who are selfish, and there's some people in this world who selfish. Guys, this is a very free flow episode, so the audience can choose if they want a Discord event or if they want me to continue. I mean, pretty much I continue as far as I can paint the picture as I want to paint the picture. When I feel I've painted the picture enough, um, I kind of, you know, I'm fine with how the talk goes. Then I can end it in whatever way. But the thing is, the main picture I want, I was attempting to just make the experience of a creature shifting from sea to land similar to the experience of going through a portal. And this is for the genetical memory. That means right now you're a genetical being. The DNA, you have a DNA right now. You probably know it's helix design. And this DNA, some people say it's the book of life. Now, there are some people who they become poetic about it and they're like, who wrote this book of life that is our DNA? You know? But that question really can't be separated. Guys, I'm just gonna probably speak for 30 more minutes and then 20 minutes or something and then attempt a Discord. The inner realms are kinda strange. You know what it is? It's a retaliation against ultimate emptiness in the subconscious of man. That means our minds are here because if they stop moving, they stop existing to themselves, to the system. The sages would say you can do two things in life. You can trust life or distrust life. I'm not joking. Like I read that somewhere, and I was like, "Yep." By the way, if anybody wants to support the Patreon for this channel, um, if there are keyboards that have light on them. I'm trying to type in the darkness. Aren't we all trying to type in the darkness, guys? you know, Pretty much human psychology just divides the moment up through various access points, through lines of access, let's say. That means right now, as I'm speaking to you, I notice that there is an unknown variable and known variables to my moment. Then I notice there is visible variables and potentially invisible variables to my moment. You know, I notice that there are simple variables to my moment and complex variables to my moments. It's as if I'm a dot, and or I'm like this camera, and these are different lenses, right? Lenses of perception. I think that's the best thing, that we treat ideology as a lens rather than actual reality. Aristotle understood this, guys. It is the sign of an educated mind to entertain an idea without accepting. Most people, I believe the unknown is everywhere. I actually feel people acknowledge the unknown. It's just that they don't know what it means. They don't know what energy just instantaneously being aware of itself means. I feel most people don't know what to do with that. But what the point of that experience is not to teleport you to some blissful, to teleport you out into some transcendental escapist route. You know, true metaphysics, true mysticisms is not a escapism. That means when I looked at this world, when I see this world, when my eyes open up to this world, I wasn't like, all right, forget all of this. For me, it was like these are clues. The silence of nature is the greatest clue beyond the language culture. I feel that when you don't fear your own mind, you can properly uh, administer it. I can tell you this from experience, and trust me, in my youth, I was like this kid who was, I had this artificial cultural, of course it wasn't the fault, it was just the first wave of information that hit me in this life. Um, I could tell you that, there was this game I remember in my childhood. There was this kind of toy. This is, I don't know, this is when I was like 7. There was this thing that it was like this um, metal wire, and there was this thing, this kind of circular, kind of spoon like thing, as if you took a spoon and got rid of the center of it, you had to kind of move the spoon without the spoon touching. It's not a spoon, but you know what I mean? Like without the thing touching the wire, you know? And my upbringing felt as if like not trying to mistake of some value that I just felt I was. That's the error of youth. It claims without experience. I could definitely say that was the thing. And I'm so happy. Excuse me. Sorry, guys, I got distracted. I'm outside giving this talk. It's I'm just trying to say we're the most advanced creature on this planet. We have bought into a story of the world that has no honor or too much inspiration in it. It's pretty much a jungle. We stepped out of the jungle and we made another jungle. Now is time to build the advanced civilization. And when you really think about it, I feel who you are as a being transforms. I feel that if you just sit down and close your eyes and wonder about all these human beings being born and dying every day, all this movement, if you close your eyes and sit down, I'm sure every person who has the intelligence to perceive, to see things, you're going to see that we are not living a life that has a value for an external advancement. If you notice, religion, the inspiration is the afterlife. So many ideological systems, they promise the person a better place. Yet, this is the place where we can only make better. We have to allow the experience and sensitivity to life to surpass all dualistic values. We have to realize that it's a human being, regardless of the name and its story. It's a creature. And it's a creature, it's like as if, seriously, like, cameras, if we were gods that created cameras are made in our own image, seriously. I'm not joking. It's just that we just are not sure who's looking through our eyes. That's the difference. Is it an idea? Is it an experience? Is it comprehensible? Does it surpass our domain of comprehension? What is it? These questions are important to us. So, anyways, guys, just to um, be safe for the talk, I'm gonna open up a 5-minute Q&A before I set up the Discord and share the Discord link here. Um, so, if anybody has any questions relating any of these ideas I've mentioned, feel free to ask. If not, I'll try to set up the Discord. Alright, guys, so the Discord is active. Uh, Anybody who's interested for the Discord can join. The talk component to this has ended. Uh, so thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the Discord server. Much blessings and ups. By the way, guys, and anybody listening, there's an issue with my keyboard, um, but I'm available at Discord if anybody wants to engage. And thanks for tuning in so far. But I'm available in the Discord for those who wanted to join the Discord. Okay, nice. Yeah, and I'm just sharing this point, Bob, that the moment we feel uh, what we see, like the meaning we see to things is the meaning of stuff is only that, that's when we stop seeing the outer realm. And all human psychology and health and all that, I think, is based on this, you know? No, 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 that was on point. I'm actually like that's exactly what I'm saying. There's something. It's like a layer. It's like the mind is over the world, you know? Bob, out of curiosity, what was the first thing you heard me say, like from these talks? Out of curiosity, like which talk did you hear? Yeah, I'm. I want to. I like. I've guessed the number. I want to see like what the number. You know how I use this channel is I usually look at the time and I just choose a channel. You know, choose a video. Sometimes I watch. You know. Sorry, man. This thing was on mute and I was talking. Um, so, in regards to what you said, I don't know if this was if it was unmuted at that time, but yeah, it's kind of spot on what you're saying about the inner realms and the outer realms. I feel I don't know. There's this mentality that wants to pinpoint everything into some sort of category that relates to whatever the person knows, but at the same time, there's this vast unknown. And Bob, I'm telling you, my whole point of just giving these talks is because I feel literally communication between human beings and as the human being, even understanding itself as a, I don't know, communication of nature, evolutionary communication of nature. It's like I just feel it's like we're at a phase in history where communication needs to evolve, language needs to evolve, and that can happen either experientially or we, I don't know. So I'm trying to make the world communicate more. Like that's my view on all these things. You know. it's like, okay, if human beings have um, we have a common biological program, then we have different cultural programs, then in the cultural program and based on our immediate experience of our environment, there's the whole sculpture of identity being taken place. So I would say that after some point, it's not looking for a instruction booklet. It's like we're confronting tragedy as a species, and people are like, "What do we do? What do we do? What do we do?" But not realizing that it's an on the spot natural. It's as if like the young soul sees himself as God. You know, you can say poetically, the old soul sees uh, the other. You know, as the divine or whatever. So I would say it depends. Some people may, the next language may be something that's experiential. It may have nothing to do with an alphabet, but that's way beyond our time. I think to the point we get there, we have to surpass this urge of being active as a creature. That means I'm thinking there's probably going to be a moment in history where we're going to wonder, is it still worth it to be conscious through the biological human body? So at that point, it's like if your mind was the access to all language, all information, if the human brain was connected to a computer, then the use for language might be obsolete. If you had access to information on a massive level, you might have no reason to speak, because usually we speak if we don't know something or if we want to share something. It has to do something with the unknown. So, anyways, Rob, that's my view.